Good evening, all my South Orange Maplewood listeners, and all those other listeners in the towns of Millburn, Livingston, Irvington, West Orange, East Orange, Orange, and Newark. Welcome to In the Village With Anselm on the South Orange Maplewood Online Radio Experience, and live on the World Wide Web at somore.org. And the only radio show covering all your news, opinions, politics, talk, and sports happening in the South Orange Maplewood communities. You can listen to us every Monday through Friday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. That's Monday through Friday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. and reach us at 973-327-3626. That's 973-327-3626 to participate in the discussion. We have a very interesting program lined up for you this evening, and I look forward to your participation in the discussion. Now, this past week have been a very entertaining week, I should say, in South Orange and Maplewood. And this week, for the first time in my history of living here in South Orange and Maplewood, we have two major articles that were published in different newspapers. We had an article that was published in NewJersey.com, and we also had an article that was published in the Washington Post. And there was a lot of discussions surrounding these both articles regarding what people felt, how they believe, a lot of comments, quite a bit of comments. And there were a lot of negative comments, I would say, regarding these two articles. One of the articles was, why can't my daughter take AP Calculus? And that create a big uproar here in South Orange and Maplewood. Many people were making comments about the article. And there was another article that was published in NewJersey.com. This article was written by Walter Fields, and it says New Jersey schools are still segregated. And the other article was, why can't my daughter take AP Calculus? And they were all kind of different reasonings and discussions and going back and forth on many, many different outlets covering South Orange and Maplewood. I think in the past 10 years, this has been, these two articles had an effect on South Orange and Maplewood, and it has brought out the worst in some people. It has truly brought out the worst in some people. Some people posting on different blogs, different websites, and it has brought out the worst. And that article was 6 decades after Brown versus Board of Education, New Jersey schools are still segregated. And many people were very, very upset about that article. But however, we have to kind of step back and do a little research and see if maybe, just maybe, there is some credibility to what is trying to be said in these communities of South Orange and Maplewood. But they were all really? I try to stay away as much as possible from the type of attacks that happens on Maplewood Online. And it is so difficult to read some of the attacks on Maplewood Online, and then you just wonder, are these some of the same individuals who are touting how diverse a community we are, We cherish diversity. But yet, when someone is trying for the betterment of the community, I call it the community, we have all these negative comments. Now, on March 22nd, 2014, there was an article published by AP, the Associated Press. And the title of the article is Government Education System Rife with Inequities. Government, our education system rife with inequities. And if you go to facebook.com/Soulmore Radio, you're going to see the article that's posted on our Facebook website. Now, this is the government. This is not any individual making these statements. So please, don't accuse me of making these statements. This is an article in the Associated Press written by Kimberly Heflin titled Government Education System Rife with Inequities. But before we get to that, we're also going to get to another article, and we have to get to this one. It's an article that was done by Keith Robinson and Angel L. Harris on April the 12th, 2014, and it said, parental involvement is overrated. Parental involvement is overrated. So just so you know, a little background on Angel L. Harris. He's an associate professor on the Department of Sociology. He was an associate professor at the Department of Sociology at Princeton University. He's currently at Duke University as a professor of sociology and African American studies. From 2011 to 2013, he was at Princeton University as an associate professor of sociology and African American studies. From 2007 to 2011, he was an assistant professor of sociology and American studies at Princeton University. And prior to that, he was at University of Texas at Austin. And prior to that, he was also at University of Michigan. And that's to just give you a background of the individuals who are publishing this information. And the publish that was done by him and another gentleman by the name of Keith Robinson talks about parental involvement is overrated. And so let's get back to the government article. Education system is rife with inequities. And remember, we have the article by Walter Fields in NewJersey.com, right, talking about New Jersey schools are still segregated. 6 decades after Brown versus Board of Education, New Jersey schools are still segregated. And here is what the article states. 60 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that black children have the right to the same education as their white peers. But civil rights data released Friday by the Education Department reflects an education system rife with inequities for blacks and other minority students and those with disabilities. Minority students are less likely to have access to advanced math and science classes and veteran teachers. Black students of any age, even the youngest preschoolers, are more likely to be suspended, and students with disabilities are more likely than other students to be tied down or placed alone in a room as a form of discipline. This is the Education Department of the United States of America. This is not an individual just making these accusations. This is the United States of America. Now, if you read the article in NewJersey.com, 6 decades after Brown versus Board of Education, New Jersey schools are still segregated. The article is talking about the same type of things that the government is talking about. So I think before we jump to conclusions and try to jump down people's throat regarding an article that's written, let's get some of the facts. Let's get some of the facts. If we are truly serious about diversity in these communities of South Orange and Maplewood, we will get the facts and we will have a discussion on it. Now, the Community Coalition on Race is having a discussion on May the 14th at 7 p.m. at Temple Shari Tefillah, Israel, located at 432 Scotland Road in South Orange. The title of that conversation is Implicit Bias, Who Me? Conversation on Race. Most individuals, groups, and even institutions explicitly renounce racist, homophobic, sexist, ageist, etc. beliefs. But implicit biases operate at an unconscious level and are influenced by our cultural environments. How do we recognize implicit bias? How do our implicit biases influence our relationship in the community? How can we resolve to become more aware of how we make decisions and if and when implicit biases may be at work in the process? You are invited to be part of a diverse group of community members, business people, and community leaders to participate in our Conversation on Race forum. This event is free and open to the entire community. The large group presentation, led by Elizabeth William Riley, President and CEO of the American Conference on Diversity, will be a conversation starter. We will break into facilitated small groups to talk more intimately about our individuals and collective work to create change. We're going to talk about our individual and collective work to create change. And to me, what many of people in this community of South Orange and Maplewood is trying to do is to create change for the betterment of the community as a whole. It doesn't matter whether what color that may affect, that change may have an effect on. It doesn't matter. But we have to make those changes. And why is there a problem when we are trying to make these changes? Why is that so problematic for many of us? We're going to go for a short break and we're going to come back